Well, hello everybody again, and welcome to another episode of the Oxford Business Insights podcast. I'm delighted to welcome Mark Johnstone, who is the CEO of JSP, a global leader in industrial safety, who has taken his business from Oxford to the world, and with a lot of innovation along the way in the safety business. So, welcome, Mark. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So look, Mark, I always like to find out a little bit about the people we talk to on this, about their background before they got into their current roles and current business. So tell us a little bit about your journey before you came into JSP.
Sure. My background, I'm a chartered accountant. I spent 9 years, in fact, with PricewaterhouseCoopers in London. I qualified with them in the audit department, and then I moved across actually at the time in the sort of early 90s when they had the recession into corporate recovery. I learned a lot of things there,
Yeah.
doing turnaround and lots of reviews on different businesses in many different industries. And then I went from there into corporate finance and then did quite a lot of work at the time in the sort of nascent private equity world as it was back then, called venture capital, management buyouts and buy-ins. And then I went from there into sort of large scale M&A work, both pre and post. And with a group called VBM, Value-Based Management.
Mhm.
And that was very interesting, doing a lot of work all over the world for very large M&A transactions.
Okay. So then you came into JSP. So were you always destined to do that, or was it? Tell
Well,
us the story.
in a way, yes, because I grew up with a business.
Yep.
But yeah, we are a family business.
Yep.
It was set up originally by my father in 1964 in West London, and we've metamorphosized many times actually, and sort of moved out to our current head office here in Worsham Mill on the River Windrush
Mhm.
in 1969. When he bought what was then a sort of semi-derelict mill. It was one of the Marriott mills.
Mhm.
Marriott and the early families, of course, were very well known here in West Oxfordshire, just outside of Witney. And really they were feeding in wool, which was for the wool industry, was a great source of value and wealth into the area, feeding wool into the town to then be made into Witney blankets, which of course were
Yep.
sold all over the world. Very famous.
Excellent. Okay, so a long-established family firm, but takes back to sort of like the late nineties. You were busy doing your M&A activity, your accounting background, finance. What made you come into the firm, family firm?
Well, I sometimes joke it's when my father sort of said, "When are you going to get a proper job?" But no, I think I'd learned a huge amount, and it was one of those things whereby I felt that if I didn't give it a shot at some point, I could only ever regret that. I could always go back into, a career in the city. So as he said to me, he said, when you join, you're not going to be turning left when you get onto an aircraft. You're certainly going to be turning right. And that was very much the case. I've been used to sort of big boardrooms in many different cities and countries, doing sort of a lot of strategic advice as well, particularly at the end. And then I came and joined what was, really, business he'd founded and, grown very successfully, had gone through a lot of changes because we were in clothing and glove
Yeah.
manufacturing, and had to sort of move out of that because, of course, Asia and lower cost imports had started affecting things. So to answer your question, for me, it was a case of, I wanted to give it a shot and see what I could do and see what impact I could make to the business at the time. Yeah, the rest is history. Here I am. I joined in '99, and we're in September '99, and we're nearly in September 2025. So 26
Excellent.
years later.
So you haven't decided to go back to corporate finance? Right.
Certainly not, no.
Okay.
But sometimes we're on the other end of the table these days.
Okay. Well, look, tell us a little bit about the JSP product and how you develop it, because I know there's been a lot of innovation from where you started, even going into glove manufacturing and things going back into the early days and right through to the current day. Innovation is a real point of difference for your business. So tell us a little bit about how you approach that and how you look at the market and what it needs.
Innovation really is your future growth in many ways. You can you grow various different ways to grow, but innovation is absolutely key, and especially in the market we're in. I liken what we do, which is personal protective equipment, pretty much to sports equipment. So very much we are selling a need, not a desire, but we want our customers to desire our products more than our competitors. So very much they've got to perform very, very well. And not only that, the clues in the title, PPE, it's very personal. You're wearing the product often on skin contact. They've got to be very comfortable because they've got to be worn for long periods of time. And to be comfortable, you're going to increase your compliance rates as well. So, a lot of factors which one might not appreciate go into developing our products. And, we're very much, we have a very clear mission in terms of what we want to go out and do. We put a lot of investment behind that. It's a mission we take very seriously and very profoundly, really, and that is to improve the safety and health of people in their workplace worldwide. It's simple words, but we treat them very seriously.
And I can imagine there's a number of challenges, not least of which about sustainability. I mean, with respect to a lot of PPE in the past, it's been very disposable products, or a lot of it has. Tell us a little bit about how you approach that sort of challenge, because there are going to be sustainability pressures on all businesses.
We've always been about sort of very much having a high quality product, and where possible to have a product that has more longevity that you can maintain, and that can have replaceable elements to it. So if it's got filters, for example, you can replace those. We do disposable products as well. They are an essential part of life as well when you need occasional protection. But we work with a lot of end user customers. I mean, we supply. I must say, we supply everybody. All our customers are supplied exclusively via our distribution network.
Right.
But we do engage a lot at the end user level for a sort of pull through sales strategy. So that having all the the products that help companies be more sustainable is a very key part of what we deliver. And that often means we get onto a sort of ongoing relationship with big end users, and we help them to train their people to move up to higher levels of products. And literally we can be taking people from a very basic disposable mask where they're getting through perhaps 3 or 4 a day to one of our top level powered air purifying respirator products, which is a much higher price point in the hundreds of pounds, whereby they could be just changing their filters every 28 days.
Right.
So that is a very straightforward example of how we do help customers become more sustainable, and at the same time driving higher levels of comfort, higher levels of performance as well.
Excellent. Okay, and in terms of how do you measure how much, or gauge how much to put into R&D in terms, because you've obviously got that culture of development, but is it driven by what the market might need? How much is driven by market, or just innovation that you and your team can see within the manufacturing process, or what you can do with new technologies coming along? I know your manufacturing process has become very sophisticated, so just give us a sense of how you look at the R&D as if you're looking at your plans for the next 2 or 3 years. Well, how much goes into R&D? I'm not expecting you to give hard numbers, but just in principle, how do you address that?
We invest a huge amount, and we're actually increasing that as well. We're seeing a lot more global competition coming in. We have to be at the front edge of the curve. Frost & Sullivan, who is the equivalent of probably what you'd know as JD Power, which is one of the big consultants in our market, and do a lot of analyst type work. They independently named us in 2014 as the European leader in industrial head protection. So as a leader, we absolutely have to make sure that we're staying in that position. I talk a lot about bit like playing chess. You've got to be 5 or 6 moves ahead of of who you're playing, your competitors, and that's very important for us. So it's a combination of factors. We're getting a lot of feedback through sort of feedback loop we have by being very engaging with our end user customers, but also we have a lot of knowledge here in house. We have superb engineers and scientists. We're pushing boundaries. We're doing true research as well. We've done that often with other universities where we've done co-development projects to really use the latest and greatest technologies out there to improve our products more. You mentioned about manufacturing. Yes, that's a very important point for us. We manage all our IPR, or our intellectual property rights, in-house. We have an in-house team that do that. And you got the product side, which is obviously very important. And we have numerous patents, certainly on all our leading products. There's always at least one patent, and obviously full design registrations on all our products as well. But what we also do is we apply a lot of technology to how we manufacture.
Right.
And that is a key, I would say, competitive advantage for us, and something which does set us apart from our competitors, because 80% of what we sell is manufactured in our own JSP facilities. And that's a huge difference. A lot of our competitors outsource to different parts of the world, and our focus is very much about being a regional manufacturer, going out to all our global distribution networks, currently from about 4 sites, and that's we're selling into over 100 countries, and a lot goes out from the UK, but also from our facility in Germany as well. But going back to how can we do that competitively? Well, a lot of what we do is fully automated,
right.
And what we've done is we've done a lot of research to drive new technologies in the actual manufacturing process, and that does set us completely apart. And when we're able to come up with a new technology, we're able to then patent that. That gives us a real competitive advantage, and it also enables us to automate and therefore manufacture in what are quite high, expensive locations, like Oxfordshire, for example.
I was in Germany, but yeah.
Well, we went to Germany. Well, I'll come on to that actually, because there's some interesting developments. But we're able to take the blueprint of what we've designed using our technologies and then drop that into locations. And to answer you on Germany, yes, we went to Düsseldorf. We're actually in the Düsseldorf postal code area, and a lot of people thought we were absolutely mad when we first set up there. The second most expensive city in Germany after Munich, and we were able to say, well, in fact, you'll be surprised when we get set up. Come and have a look. And in fact, we had the mayor of Düsseldorf in, and he walked into the factory and saw all the robots going. We are literally making products from start to finish 100% by robot. And he threw his arms up in the air and he went, oh my gosh, so this is industry 4.0. And this was I thought that was pretty good reaction. We're teaching the Germans a thing or two.
Yeah, right in the heart of the Ruhr as well. I know Düsseldorf is perhaps not the heavy industrial city, but it's right in the heart of the Ruhr area.
Exactly. Essen, Dortmund, Düsseldorf, and then down to Cologne. The whole on the Rhine there, and the Ruhr Valley as well, of course, which is where all the coal comes from originally. Where there's coal, there's steel, there's heavy engineering and manufacturing, and that's still very much the base. So yes, that's been pretty good. We set up in 2018 prior to Brexit. We weren't going to wait around, and we wanted to be able to service our customers in Europe, which is a very large chunk of our business.
Just out of curiosity, would you have gone to Germany if it hadn't been for Brexit? Was that a Brexit-driven decision, or were you going to do that?
Both. We looked at several different countries. We looked at Spain. We looked at Poland. We looked very briefly at France because it is a big market for us. Germany we felt was probably the most similar in terms of mentality,
Yeah,
and actually good old Gerhard Schroeder back in the 90s sort of changed some of the labour laws, so they're
yeah,
more similar to
yeah.
the UK, although they're still quite different. We also thought that, we're very proud of Made in UK. We thought Made in Germany might just be up there with Made in UK, so
Yeah.
we thought that was the right thing to do.
Uh,
And that's proven the case. It's being manufacturing in Germany is very important as well to get into the German distribution network, and also end customers want to buy made in Germany. They're very patriotic
So
around that.
I understand that from a previous life that I won't go into, but it was difficult to break into the German market if you didn't have a presence in there, or at least some academic credibility to go in there. It is not the easiest market to crack. So you've done really well there. But now you have more than just Germany. You've got right in saying China and the UAE as well.
That's right. We've just we've set up in China in the early 2000s, and that's been good. We've actually had two facilities out there. And we've seen a lot of change. We actually sell in China as well. We have a company based out of Shanghai. We've got about 200 distributors selling JSP products throughout China, which I set back up in 2003 or so, long
Okay.
time ago. Walked up a building site to buy an office in downtown Shanghai. And yeah, that's been very good for us long term. We've just acquired a manufacturing facility in the UAE, which is great news. We had a JV with a partner, and so actually we fully acquired that now. So
Right.
we 100% own that facility. We also have sort of partner manufacturing as well in the US, in Massachusetts. But that's a smaller facility. But
Right.
I mentioned earlier about having regional hubs for manufacturing. That's very important for us, especially taking into account things like currency movements, but also to be really truly lean. We are a lean manufacturer. We've
Yeah.
done a lot in the last 15 years to drive that, by automating. And lean is actually all about customer service, and giving the ultimate
Yeah.
customer service, being able to adapt your product for the customer, literally right up to the last minute. And we're able to do that. We offer a 5-day service on a bespoke product
Right.
for customers across Europe. And that's something very powerful. None of our competitors can do that.
And how do you approach the manufacturing? Can you promote? Sorry, manufacture any of your products in China, or will you in UAE or Germany, or do certain products have to come from the UK or have to come from Germany? Or how does that work?
Depending where we're selling,
Right.
it's a really sort of lattice structured sort of
Right.
network we've got.
Right.
We're working a lot with FTAs at the moment,
Yeah.
free trade agreements. So actually it's quite strategic for us to go into the UAE. They're doing a lot of great things.
Yeah.
Sheikh Mohammed's been, what he's done over the years is phenomenal. He's developing the country now into very much an international hub, both sort of not just sort of financially and service based, but also manufacturing. They've got FTAs now in place with Australia, New Zealand, into India, the
Yeah.
UK, of course, and also into the former CIS countries as well, the Eurasian
Yeah.
groups. And it's getting more and more as well. The UK is beginning to do some things, but now we're outside of Europe, which is good. I'd like to see a lot more done.
Yeah.
We need to do that. But no, I mean it depends where. Feedstocks of raw materials as well can be a factor.
Yeah.
Sometimes we see price fluctuations in different parts of the world. But probably the main driver is actually how close we are to our customer. It's about shipping and getting that product in quickly to the customer.
Excellent. And in terms of those putting in the technology and running and maintaining the technology in some of these new markets, I can understand, China, you've been there a long time, but are there any issues about getting your factory set up and operating in, say, UAE? I'm just picking on that as an
Yeah,
example.
no, it's a good one to think about. We're actually sort of we find we're literally, well, the ink's just drying on the deal now. But yes, we're looking at what we're doing. There's no point us automating to the same extent
Right.
as we have. in the UK and in Germany, what we'll do is semi-automation.
Right.
Cost of labor is a lot lower there,
Yeah.
no doubt, and you need a lot of skill set to be able to operate robots. That's that skill set we've developed over the years. I mean, our factory here in West Oxfordshire and in Dusseldorf, it's all operating on software which we've written in-house.
Right.
We've got fantastic team of engineers who've done that, and it's something we're completely evolving continually.
Right.
To go and set that up in UAE, the bang for your buck isn't there.
Yeah.
Not to the same level. So we don't need to. So therefore, we'll do sort of in steps, and it'll be done across different processes.
Okay, understand that. So talk to me a little bit about how you manage a pretty diverse and complex organisation. You've got people selling. I know you spelled through distribution channels, but you've got manufacturing people, you've got programmers, developers, designers, you've got people presumably running the factory side of it, as well as sales and marketing. How do you manage that team of people in the role of CEO, and also geographically? So what's the culture like at JSP?
The culture is very open.
Yeah.
It's pretty flat as well. My door's open to anybody, and I'm here to support the teams. It's we like to sometimes draw our sort of organizational chart as a sort of inverted pyramid, really.
Right.
We sit at the bottom supporting the people on the front line, and we do a lot of analogies to sports as well. It's I'm there as the manager, I'm not the player on the pitch.
Yeah.
What we do is we want to empower everybody to be able to operate as efficiently as possible. Again, everything for us is about customer service, being able to respond to customers in the right way very quickly. So I'll back any of our team to make a decision and go ahead and do what they think is right. And I know that 99% of the time they're going to be right in what they do. One of the very important things we've done in the last 2 years is we've moved from more of a sort of, I suppose, semi-cell based, but still with a slight functional element to our organizational structure, to one that is now completely business unit driven,
Right.
with heads in place. And that's been a transition which we've done. We've had a lot of training we've done. We've put a lot of training also using outside help around the principles of lean.
Yeah.
We've got them, those principles must be throughout the organization, of course, not just in the factory. And it's an ongoing process. You're constantly working on that. So we do spend a lot on training. We do a lot of everyone from the ground up. We're pretty pleased to operate quite a lot of apprenticeships as well.
Okay.
So the BU change was massive. We've now got leaders in place. In the past, we had people in some of our product divisions whereby you'd have a customer calling up saying, where's my order? The classic question. Someone would phone up the manufacturing team, the production, and say, well, the customer's asking where their order is. Have you produced it? Oh, well, yeah, of course, I've produced it. They haven't dispatched it yet. And so you go into the warehouse and you say, well, I've just spoken to production. You've got it, but you haven't dispatched it. I didn't know I had it. No one told me. And that was the sort of functional element now. So now with leaders in place, they're absolutely responsible from A to Z on every element. And that's meant a little bit of duplication of personnel, but what it's done, it's massively improved our customer service levels. And we're growing, as a business as well, and we needed that structure for that growth. Another important point to say as well is we did implement a new ERP system back in 2021, and that was very good because the previous system we had did sort of push us down more of a functional route where we're almost having to hand carry, from order to delivery and then collection.
Did you develop that in-house, or did you take sort of?
We took an outside, software, and then we adapted it for how we need, and we're constantly adapting it as well now. It's not too malleable, but it is malleable. We want to keep it pretty generic, and we have changed some of our processes as well to streamline. And often you've got to ask the question why, and
Yeah.
why are you still doing it that way,
Yeah.
or why can't we do it this way, or and why is something we encourage
Yeah.
all our people to ask all the time. There's always better ways to do things.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so, just in terms of the core management team, I think there's a couple of other family members involved. You're obviously the CEO, but you've got a couple of others in there.
Yeah, absolutely. So my brother James, he's an engineer.
Yeah,
He's a mechanical engineer, but actually also he's got a master's in manufacturing out of Warwick Business School there,
yeah,
which was Warwick Manufacturing Group, I think it is, isn't it?
yeah, yeah,
Which is one of the global leaders
yeah,
for
absolutely.
manufacturing, and so he's got a lot of knowledge around the manufacturing side. I'm definitely more interested in I suppose in to put it to summarize it, I probably start the fires and he has to go and put them out, so that's
Yeah,
going out and blazing a trail to
yeah,
win business, set up new overseas offices, develop relationships, develop products,
yeah,
and getting into new markets. I enjoy that very much. So James is very much, he's an engineer, and he's always been that way. And then my sister Sarah, she
yeah,
is head of marketing, and she also is heading up sustainability, and we covered that earlier. We're doing
yeah,
a lot of work now on things like LCA, life cycle assessment of products. We see a lot of movement to, like we said, kicked off earlier and talked about, products which are more usable, have a longer life cycle. And again, that's moving people up to a higher level product as well.
yeah.
So they're both in the business, and my father is still the chairman as well,
Oh,
as he
excellent.
occasionally likes to remind me. So he does come in, and it's his lifeblood. He loves it here,
I'm sure he does.
and we've actually just built a new bridge for him as well,
Right,
so he can get across the back of the river,
right.
and into the factory. He's passionate about manufacturing. And he's able to get sort of without having to go upstairs these days, which
Yeah,
is a bit tricky when we put in a lift system,
okay.
and so he can get in over the bridge. Still waiting to do our formal opening, but that will be soon.
Oh,
So
excellent. Oh no,
yeah, we're looking forward
that's
to
good
that
news.
day.
And just out of curiosity, I mean, what would he say in terms of where the company is? Yeah, what from his original vision, or when he bought it, or bought the mill in the late '60s and set up the company even earlier. What do
Yeah,
you feel about
well, I
where
think
it's come?
we're all very proud of the
Yeah,
team.
you should
We're
be.
all very proud of, I suppose, of with we're we also have a lot of gratitude, and for what we've been able to develop. I mean, it's grown massively even since I've been here. We've changed a huge amount. We had an export team, I think, of 4 people,
Yeah,
and now we've got international offices in 6 countries. We've got manufacturing in multi-sites
yeah,
overseas, and we're probably 10 times the size of where we were. So it's been a great journey, and that continues. Very much now, we're bringing on the new generations coming in. I'm not talking about family. I'm talking about the second family, as I call it, which is
yeah,
JSP people. It is a very much a family culture we have here,
yeah,
and they're doing great things. We like to work with our customers. The customer is king for us. We look after your customer, the customer will look after you. It's something I've
yeah.
always talked to people about. And that's not to do everything the customer wants, of
No,
course, but we've got to guide them on the way, and we've got to always obviously have brilliant products, and we have brilliant products. There's no doubt about that. Once people start using JSP products, they don't move on to other ones.
excellent. And so, just looking forward a bit, next sort of I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years. You've obviously got new things, products coming along, but also your manufacturing and presence in UEA. No, UAE. I was the wrong way around. And other things to develop. What do you see as the sort of the big next sort of strategic steps for JSP? Just looking forward in the sort of medium to slightly longer term.
Well, I mean, maintaining our market position as
Yeah,
leader in Europe for industrial
yeah,
head protection, and in fact, sort of enhancing that. But not only that, I mean, we're very big on head protection, We're also very big on respiratory protection, and that's
Yep.
an area we see growing. There's still 16,500 deaths a year in the UK from respiratory diseases, which have been
Right.
picked up in the workplace.
Wow.
That's just the UK, and we see levels of compliance in the UK, obviously higher than other countries. But these are long latency illnesses and diseases, and
Yep.
that's the real difference. Hearing loss and respiratory disease is something which is built up over time. It's not actually realized. It's not like you get hit
Yep.
on your head or someone runs over your foot. It's a very different thing, and it's something which we're spending a lot of time changing in terms of mentality and helping end user companies to really understand the importance of what it means, and also employees. The great thing we see with Gen Zers and beyond is that actually they're very health conscious,
Yep.
and they're very focused on working out, and everything's to do with health. And so we're seeing the level of sort of compliance increase, and what
Yep.
we're seeing now is lots of factors that point towards people using higher level products, and that's really where we're going. So we're actually investing a huge amount right now into our R&D to accelerate
Yep.
some of these top level products, and these are products in the costing several hundreds of pounds. And there's a need now to with costs, with the need for productivity growth, for any company, we're all facing higher costs. By improving productivity, that's a way to mitigate those costs. So we're seeing things like, for example, communications being a really big future for it enhances safety, and it also enhances productivity. So
Yep.
we're bringing productivity more and more into what we do, and because people have got to wear head protection, they've got to wear respiratory or hearing protection or eye face protection. What we see, very much is going to be more of an all-encompassing solution,
Yep.
which will be a product probably costing something like £1,000 per person. And it's going to have built-in comms. It's also going to have built-in smart functions as well. So it'll have the ability to be able to detect certain hazards that you might want to detect. It'll have a lot of near-field communication, so access in different places could be controlled. We've done that type of thing already on things like oil rig platforms,
Yep.
where people are not, for example, changing filters on a full face mask. They're walking through a loop,
Yep.
and we've got an NFC chip there. If they haven't changed that filter on that day, then they're not going to get through that automatic
Wow.
door.
Okay.
So it's that kind of thing. Then you've got GPS positioning as well, so you've got who's on the site, where they are, and you can bring in things like accelerometers, so that if someone's had a fall, you can detect that straight away. So
Yep.
a lot of different things are going to develop going forward. I see products not just being passive products, but much more active in terms of how they're going to be. So there's a lot you can do to a hard hat.
Yep.
Believe me.
No, that's really interesting. I can see a lot of innovation and a lot of adoption in that sort of area. Well, look, I think you've taken us through an extraordinary story for the company. I'm very grateful for that. And just tell us a little bit, if somebody was listening to this and wanted to get in contact with you, whether they're interested in the products or maybe even in job applications, what's the best way of people getting, finding out more about JSP and then getting in touch with you?
Sure. I mean, our website is www.jspsafety.com.
Yeah.
That's our website. They're welcome to contact me. It's mark.johnston@jsp.co.uk.
Yeah.
And more than happy to speak to people. We are interested right now. We've been recruiting for electronic engineers,
Right.
um, for some of the things I just talked about.
Yeah.
And we're very interested in the movement of air as well.
Okay.
So that type of thing. So anyone is interested in technologies around that, automation technologies, learning automation. We have a great team of people here.
Yeah.
So we offer apprenticeship programs. We have a lot of people from through from different schools. We take part in some of the open days and careers fairs that are put on. We work closely with Aberdeen and Witney College. I, I was sitting on their board for a while, and we very much understand for young people nowadays. University is expensive. You can now do degree level apprenticeships, and they're very powerful. You learn on the job, you get paid, and you come out with a full degree as well. So that's something I think we're very
that's really
interested
good to
in.
know, because I think there's some. Yes, you get some of the giant corporations, the Airbuses and things like that, are very well established apprenticeship programs, but sometimes people lose sight. There are companies like yours that perhaps aren't quite as big as Airbus, but they.
No, we don't plan to be as
However,
big
but
as
you
an
have
Airbus. I
well-planned
think that would be a challenge.
apprenticeship programs. I think that's really important to let people know that. Well, look,
Yeah,
thank you very much for that, Mark. That's a tour de force on a great story, and I think everybody interested will find that absolutely intriguing, how you've grown the company and where it's going to go. So we've taken sort of JSP as sort of protecting people across the world. It's British born, British based, but it's now globally trusted and its innovation is just incredible. So thank you very much, Mark. Great to talk to you. Thank you for your time today.
that's a great pleasure, Nick. Thank you very much.